What? Where? Ogrot.
What is this?
This is interesting.
I can't get it off. What is this?
Oh,
contraption?
yeah. This is a very strange device here. But, hey, I mean, there's cameras. Looks like we're ready for an episode, I guess.
Oh.
I did not plan this, but hello to you, and welcome once again to Count Gauntly's Horrors from the Public Domain. I'm your host, Count Simon Gauntly, and I'm not sure what I'm doing here or where I am. Can you shine any light on our predicament, Ogrot?
Well, we're in what looks like a warehouse. A lot of rust. Very tempting for my 100 days clean of rust. But try to keep control. There's some organic matter on these what appear to be eating utensils.
Yeah,
strapped to our head.
These things smell pretty good. I find these kind of tempting. But it is a little concerning, I will admit, that we are not sure what we did to end up here or how we came to be in this place with these oddly constricting helmets upon our heads. They are eye-catching, though, and I guess we'll just have to see if anyone will shine a light on our situation.
Hello, Gauntly and Ogrot. The man who controls me is the crossword killer, and he's not too happy with you recently. He thinks that you need to be living more fully, and that's not at all what you're doing with your foolish little TV show. 7 years down here, and what have you done? I don't think that you're living fully enough. Maybe some way that you could be convinced is with a little game. So I've attached these crowns to you with lots of things to chow on, and if you don't chow them quickly enough, the forks attached will gouge into your heads and pierce your brains. I wish you luck, but not really. Attached to this crown is a buffet, much like life, and you need to sample it more fully. 7 years down in this crypt, and 30 years on this earth, and still nothing, not enough. You need to witness this demonstration. Witness its amazingness. My two favorite things, food and pain. Get ready, Gauntly and Ogrot. You don't know what's waiting for you.
Oh, they're Whoa, man, it's taking a long time to eat this fish. I got another fish. Maybe we get a bite each one, it'll be good enough.
I got an octopus. I got it.
Oh man, this is gonna get graphic. Watch this film before they close in.
Just before lunch one day, a puppet show was put on at school. It was called Mr. Bungle Goes to Lunch. It was fun to watch. In the puppet show, Mr. Bungle came to the boys' room on his way to lunch. He looked at his hands. His hands were dirty, and his hair was messy. But Mr. Bungle didn't stop to wash his hands or comb his hair. He went right to lunch. Then, instead of getting into line at the lunchroom, Mr. Bungle pushed everyone aside and went right to the front. Even though this made the children laugh, no one thought that was a fair thing to do. Then, in the lunchroom, Mr. Bungle was so clumsy and impolite that he knocked over everything, and no one wanted to sit next to him. And when he finally knocked his own tray off the table, that was the end of the puppet show. The children knew that even though Mr. Bungle was funny to watch, he wouldn't be much fun to eat with. Phil knew that a Mr. Bungle wouldn't have many friends. He wouldn't want to be like Mr. Bungle. Later, Miss Brown said it was time for the children who ate in the cafeteria to go to lunch. She hoped there weren't any Mr. Bungles in this room. Phil stopped to return a book to Miss Brown while his friends went on to the lunchroom. He would have to catch up with them later. On his way to catch up with his friends, Phil almost walked past the boys' room, but he stopped and thought. Were his hands clean? No, they were a little dirty. Phil remembered that Mr. Bungle didn't wash his hands. Mr. Bungle's hair was messy, too. Phil didn't want to be like Mr. Bungle. Inside the boys' room, Phil was surprised to see some of his friends washing their hands, too. Phil washed his hands well, with lots of soap. Then he rinsed the soap off. Phil dried his hands well, too. When he was finished, he threw the paper towel in the basket where it belonged. And then he made sure that his hair looked neat. Now, Phil and his friends were ready for lunch. There was a line of children waiting to get into the lunchroom when Phil got there. He saw some boys he knew at the front of the line. They waved for him to go up to the front with them. But Phil didn't want to break into line as Mr. Bungle did. So Phil went to the end. That was the fair thing to do. He would see his other friends inside the lunchroom. The line moved very fast, and soon Phil was inside. First he picked up his tray. Then he got his silverware. He put his knife, fork, and spoon neatly on the tray. And then he slid his tray along. He always enjoyed looking at the good food in the cafeteria. It tasted good, and was good for him, too. Instead of having a sandwich today, Phil decided to take the hot lunch. Phil took some bread and butter, too, and he knew what else he wanted, milk. But Alice took the last carton on the tray. Maybe there was more milk, so he said, "May I please have some milk?" Phil remembered to say, "May I?" and "please." That was very polite. Yes, there was more milk. Phil remembered to say, "Thank you," when he took the carton of milk. Phil had good manners. He didn't want to be like Mr. Bungle in the lunchroom. Phil didn't want to forget his dessert. The cake looked delicious. At the end of the line, the lunchroom supervisor said she had noticed how polite Phil was, and she smiled at him. She wouldn't smile at a Mr. Bungle. Phil went to the table where his friends were. He put his tray down carefully, pulled out his chair quietly, and sat down. He knew his friends wouldn't like a noisy Mr. Bungle at their table. There was someone Phil liked, Freddie. He always brought his lunch from home. It looked good. Freddie had a sandwich, an apple, a cookie, and milk. Before Phil began to eat, he always put a napkin on his lap. So did Freddie. Everyone liked Freddie. He was very polite. For example, if he had food in his mouth when someone talked to him, he always took time to chew the food with his mouth closed and swallow before he answered. Phil noticed how straight and tall Freddie usually sat. Freddie kept his feet on the floor, too. Phil would rather be like Freddie than like Mr. Bungle. Another polite person everyone liked was Alice. For example, when Alice sneezed, she covered her mouth and nose. This protected her friends at the table from any germs. While Phil and his friends ate, a boy ran past their table. You shouldn't run in the lunchroom. Only Mr. Bungle would do that. Phil and his friends wouldn't like to have a Mr. Bungle at their table. Then lunchtime wouldn't be as much fun as it is. Phil ate slowly and enjoyed his lunch. Finally, he had eaten everything except his dessert. He saved his cake for last. Only a Mr. Bungle would eat his dessert before he'd finished the rest of his lunch. And Phil wasn't a Mr. Bungle. The cake was good. Phil drank his milk carefully. Some children are messy when they drink milk, but not Phil. As each of Phil's friends finished, they didn't leave the table, but waited for all the others to finish eating too. Phil was the last one done. He wiped his mouth and hands carefully with his napkin. Then he cleaned the table where he sat. He didn't want to leave his place at the table dirty. Everyone at the table cleaned his own place well. But look at that table. It was left very messy. Phil thought a Mr. Bungle must have sat there. But Phil didn't want to be like Mr. Bungle, so he put his chair neatly into place. And his table looked fine. Not a piece of paper or scrap of food was left on it. No Mr. Bungle sat here. Phil's friends were careful to put their waste papers and empty milk cartons where they belonged. In this way, they helped keep the lunchroom clean. Phil was certain that Mr. Bungle wouldn't put his paper in the waste basket and his empty carton on the milk tray. Mr. Bungle probably wouldn't bother to put his lunch tray in the right place either, but Phil and his friends did. Lunch was good today. And then Miss Brown told Phil and his friends how proud she was of them. They had left their table the neatest in the lunchroom. No one here was a Mr. Bungle, and no one wanted to be. Are you like Mr. Bungle? Mr. Bungle is a shame because he spoils lunchtime. Don't be like Mr. Bungle. Have good lunchtime manners, and lunch will be more fun for everyone.
Well, our trap snapshot were a little worse for wear, but honestly, it's not too bad. You know, I don't know what this serial killer was trying to accomplish here, seeing as we're undead. We've been through worse, I would say. It's perhaps a little uncomfortable, but we got a free meal out of it, so, you know, I'm not complaining. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he'll shine a little light on what he was seeking to get out of this.
Well,
Oh.
it's him.
Oh, no.
It's the one.
He's got a pug mask.
Maybe
Have
that's
you
just his
learned
hand.
your lesson?
Our lesson. And what was that again?
Are you feeling more whole in your lives? Have you grasped what it all means?
Oh, yeah. He said something along the lines of take a bigger bite out of the buffet, really sample what life has to offer.
Yeah, eat more than just rust.
Yeah. You know, I think we did learn something from this because I am turning 30 in January. You're turning 30 in January. That's a big milestone. And we have been sitting down here for 7 years watching old movies. Maybe it's time to check off some other bucket list items. Strive to do something new. What do you say, Ogrot?
Ogrot hate change, but you make a good point. Ogrot, give it a try.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go to the other corner of the subterranean lair over there. I know my way around my lair. You'll have to kind of walk me through the layout down here, but I think I've got some props stashed away that we could, make some magic with and start checking off those bucket list items. And Ogrot, you search that way, I'll search this way. Kind of get your gears turning, and we'll come up with some things to really expand our horizons. So let's go.
I've got it. I will chug an entire gallon of milk.
Oh, good morning, Tom. Come on in. Tom, have you ever given any thought to the dairy industry? You know, though most people aren't aware of it, it's one of our nation's greatest, by any standard. By the volume of its business, the number of its plants, the people it employs. Here, take a look at this. Billions of dollars of dairy products sold over the counter every year. What does that figure mean, Tom? Well, put it this way. Every fourth bite of food the American family eats represents milk or a product derived from milk. In fact, nearly 30% of the diet of the American family. Compare, if you will, the daily production of other great industries with that of the dairy industry, Tom. Every day of the year, every single day, nearly 500 million pounds of milk and its products are being consumed. Fluid milk and cream every day, millions of quarts being bought. Every day, nearly 2 million gallons of America's favorite dessert, ice cream in nearly 50 flavors. Every day, millions of pounds of appetizing creamery butter. Cheese, over 400 varieties of tasteful, healthful cheese. Evaporated milk for a multitude of cooking and baking purposes. Dried milk of various types with their many uses. And don't forget, Tom, these are only the major dairy products. In fact, it's hard to find any other food that has for its customer every person in the nation, that people like so much, that contributes so much to their health. A product, Tom, you became acquainted with from birth. A food habit that stays with you throughout life. Dairy products that have so many uses that athletes depend on in building strong, healthy bodies. That people depend on in their dieting. That people depend on in time of serious illness. And of course, there's the plain sheer enjoyment of eating dairy products. Ever drink a glass of milk to relax you just before going to bed? Dairy products. Nature's most nearly perfect food. And remember this, Tom, where the demand for other may fluctuate over the years, not milk and its products. Because folks need milk every day as much as, well, almost as much as the oxygen in the air. Why not tie your future to milk? It's a huge industry and a growing one. An industry that has expanded tremendously and with our growing population is still expanding by leaps and bounds. It might be wise, Tom, to take a good look at the dairy industry when you're looking around.
And that's what started me thinking about the dairy industry.
What happened then?
I decided to take that good look. You know, Miss Thomas, I just returned from a cross-country inspection trip. The industry's come a long way since I took my first look. Gosh, I wish my audience could see the things that I saw. For example, just the physical structure of the industry. Plants in every city, every town of any size. Huge dairy plants supplying tremendous metropolitan centers. And smaller plants feeding smaller population areas. The many different types of plants. Fluid milk. Ice cream manufacturing plants. Butter and cheese making plants. Evaporated milk and dried milk plants. Thousands upon thousands in all, across the length and breadth of the nation, employing hundreds of thousands of people. An industry on which millions of people depend, in one way or another, for their livelihood. The transport fleet of the industry. Trucks with stainless steel tanks. Trucks equipped with the most modern sanitary facilities, hauling milk from the farm. Trucks delivering dairy products from the plant. Hundreds of thousands of trucks. The largest transport fleet of any industry in the world. Aware of its responsibility in guarding the public health, the dairy industry is a leader among our food industry, adopting the most sanitary practices throughout all of its operations. For cleanliness is the watchword of the dairy industry. Within the plant, down to the last valve and pipe, devised by the best ingenuity of engineering science. Production, as in any industry, is the heart of the dairy plant. Here in a fluid milk plant, pasteurizing units go into action at the flick of a switch or the press of a button. Automation has also put its mark here, filling quart bottles, half-gallon bottles, cartons of different types, preparing millions of pounds of clean, healthful milk for our nation's people. Enough milk to float, let's say, the Queen Mary. On my recent tour, I also took a good look at high-speed processing in an industry that owes so much to the genius of modern engineering. Making ice cream. Manufacturing butter. Making cheese. Drying milk. Canning evaporated milk. During my trip, I visited Jim Stedman, production manager of one of our larger dairy companies.
You're right, Tom. Today, automation has taken much of the drudgery out of processing dairy products. But that means we require more and more highly skilled workers. Remember, the dairy industry is dynamic, always moving forward, but always in search of improvement, never completely satisfied with the extent of its progress. And in an industry based so much on science, there are many opportunities where science plays a part. Opportunities for mechanical engineers in the design and fabrication of dairy equipment. Opportunities for specialists in the development of equipment to ensure the safe and sanitary handling of dairy products. Opportunities for food specialists in supplying the many needs of our industry. Opportunities also for the industrial engineer in plant construction and layout. In methods improvement. In packaging design. Only a few of a wide range of opportunities in engineering which the industry offers.
That was the theme I heard throughout the industry. For example, in an evaporated milk plant, the constant search for improvement in a dynamic and growing industry, an industry not content to rest on its laurels. I heard that message from Dr. John Spruill, Director of Quality Control of another company.
We know, Tom, that the growth of our industry, its very existence, is keyed to the good health of the consumer. That means the entire nation. Science has created the dairy industry. That's why our scientific efforts today are unremitting. In our laboratories, testing to check the fine quality of dairy products, and in constantly broadening our research to develop new products. But while you're here, why not look at our laboratories for yourself? There you will see the activity that goes on in every dairy plant. Tests, checking and double-checking throughout the day the quality of milk. Checking the fine quality of ice cream. Only several of a series of many tests that are part of the day-in, day-out industry activity to provide our people with the very best in dairy products. But you'll also see research, chemists at work in an exciting and challenging field, not only improving, where possible, our present products, but experimenting in the realm of the future, in the development of new products that can be produced from that single, almost magical commodity that is the foundation of the entire industry, milk.
As I continued my tour, now visiting a butter plant, I became aware of another great force pulsing through the industry, its diversification, its multiple activities, offering opportunities, for example, in plant management for those trained in business administration. Also, opportunities throughout the whole field of accounting, opportunities in merchandising. From Arch Wilson, sales manager of a dairy company, I heard this.
Today, Tom, merchandising in the dairy industry is creative. Not satisfied with the old stereotype methods, but forging new paths to bring the products of the industry to the consumer. Today, we are busy inventing new methods of distribution to the public. In merchandising dairy products, the accent is on a modern, imaginative approach throughout the industry. For example, full-color packaging for ice cream. Tie-in promotions to increase the sales of butter. Attractive packaging for cheese products. Then, of course, there are nationwide sales promotion campaigns. June is Dairy Month, alerting the entire nation to the healthful qualities of dairy products during the month when spring blends into summer. Part of the June is Dairy Month promotion, celebrating the 350th anniversary of the American dairy industry, founded long before the birth of the Republic. And today, Refresh with Milk, another nationwide campaign that goes on throughout the year. Dynamic advertising is another mark of the industry, Tom. Magazine and newspaper advertising, motion slide films, TV, in fact, every medium of mass communication. Also, specialists in various industry activities in public relations, ranging from guided tours through dairy plants for school children and others, bringing home the importance of dairy products in our diet, to meeting the public face to face, giving hard facts and figures about how milk and its products contribute to our health. Then, of course, there are numerous opportunities in salesmanship, finding new customers for a product with a natural demand. Just a few of the opportunities the dairy industry offers.
An industry pulsing with vitality, with a restless urge for continued progress, continued growth, always in search of improvement. These were some of the forces I found. A stable industry with a constant demand for its products in good times and bad. Also a diversified industry, providing a wide range of opportunities for almost every career. Opportunities, for example, for those with legal backgrounds. For lawyers are active in many phases of the industry. In labor relations, opportunities for the economist as well as the attorney. For the nutritionist, opportunities in improved health. Opportunities to work with the medical profession and public health officials in strengthening the diet of our own people as well as people of other countries. Or perhaps a career in teaching the field of dairy technology. Well, there it was. An industry which measurement, the sheer change of its daily, the mass and movement of its products, the data volume of its sales, ranks among our nation's greatest. Industry closely linked with human growth and welfare, and an industry offering a host of opportunities as it moves into the future.
And that's what I saw on my recent trip. Quite a bit different from the look I took during my college days. A bigger industry, more vital, and yet, even then, enough to stir my imagination, to steer me into the industry. Well, that's about it, Miss Thomas.
It's quite a story.
Yes, it is. Well, will you type up those notes? I'll need them by noon.
Yes, sir. Here you are, Mr. Drake.
Oh, thank you, Miss Thomas.
Good luck on your speech, Mr. Drake. I wish I'd be there.
All right, fellow viewers of the Crypt, come with me down this journey as we chug this gallon of milk.
So, crossword. I take it your whole thing is testing people, yes?
Yes, I test them because if they don't care enough to live, then why should I let them live?
It's an interesting philosophy. Well, I'm going to try to stretch my boundaries, try some things I've never done on the show before. You know, maybe if I get a little crazy, I may do something even in my life outside of the show, but that's a little too crazy to just jump into cold turkey. So I'm going to cover some things that we have not seen yet in our 81 episodes. Now, I am going to juggle a little bit, and we can just kind of rap about your philosophy a little more. So, how many people would you say you have murdered?
70, 80.
Oh, that's impressive. That's like, when did you start? You doing one a month like me? Episodes? Murders?
Around 1997, so that would be every couple months.
Hey, that's not too bad. That's, consistent at least. Now, does anybody ever survive?
Rarely. I try not to let it happen.
Of those who survive, though, would you say most learn their lessons?
Certainly. They wouldn't survive otherwise.
Wow.
It's all under my control.
That sounds like a pretty effective therapy, then. It's certainly paying off for me right here, right now. I just feel all the Zen juices flowing. I feel very composed. I feel like I've accomplished something substantial in my 30 years on the earth. And I think anybody watching at home would tell you the same thing. Yeah.
Of course, it's a trade-off for me because killing people that don't want to be alive is not that much fun because they kind of want it. I'd rather kill somebody who very desperately wants to live. But in this form, I can't do that.
All right, viewers, round 2, the journey continues.
I wanted to share a song that I first heard in a talent show about 15 years ago, and it's stuck with me ever since because it's related to a scenario in which I have found myself time and time again, and it just might resonate with you as well. So, let's give it a shot. It's her hair and her eyes today that just simply take me away. And the feeling that I'm falling further in love makes me shiver, but in a good way. All the times I am sad and stared as she thoughtfully thumbs through her hair. And she purses her lips, bats her eyes, and she plays with me, sitting there slack-jawed with nothing to say. For I love her with all that I am, and my voice shakes along with my hands. For it's frightening to be swimming in this strange sea, but I'd rather be here than on land. It's a masterful melody when she calls out my name to me, and the world spins around her. She laughs, rolls her eyes, and I feel like I'm falling, but it's no surprise, 'cause I love her with all that I am. And my voice shakes along with my hands, for it's frightening to be swimming in this strange sea, but I'd rather be here than on land.
Whew, this is getting quite difficult. But we've almost made it, viewers. Let us finish the journey together. Well, we did it.
Wow, I see an accomplished gentleman over here. How does it feel, Ogrot?
It feels bad.
Oh.
It feels like I'm stuffed full of stuffing, like a teddy bear, but there's too much stuffing, so it's got stuffing flowing out of him.
Do you feel alive?
I feel, so I guess yes.
Very good.
Yeah. Have you been fulfilled this day, Mr. Crossword Killer? I for one, feel embiggened.
I think I'm beginning to feel it. One of the reasons that I try to make people feel alive is so that I, too, can know how to feel.
Yeah, you know, I get it. I think the reason that you're testing these people and motivating them to just live life to the fullest is so that you can learn how to.
Beneath this facade, I am nothing. But now, I am a little bit more than nothing.
All right. Well, you know what? We're turning 30. You got a January birthday by any chance?
I do.
How did I know? Wow. Well, let's, in the spirit of aging once again and just, piling on another year as the world is wont to do, let's head out into the world, seize the day. Hope you can do it at home too. As always, pleasant nightmares. And come on, let's rock this world, Ogrot.
Oh.
In class, it's not so bad. But when school's out and the others go off to enjoy themselves, well, if you're what they call a shy guy, that's when you really feel it. The awful loneliness of being new in town. You don't know how to make people like you, and you find yourself holding a grudge against them. You're standing on the outside looking in. You might have something to contribute to their conversation, but nobody cares whether you do or not. There's a barrier, and you don't know how to begin breaking it down. You imagine they keep watching the way you look, the way you act. They think you're different. So you head for home. What else? But still, you can't forget that you're alone, an outsider.
Hello, Phil. How's everything?
Oh, okay, I guess, Dad.
And how's your record transmitter, microphone coming?
Oh, all right, I guess. I know it isn't either. I can't figure out where to connect in the oscillator. I know I have to connect it into the amplifier, but where? It just doesn't fit in.
Why not call the store and get more information? And by the way, how are things going in school?
Oh, okay, Dad. But school here isn't like it was back in Morristown.
Well, you know, son, maybe school is like your radio. This oscillator will do its work well. But as you said, you still have to fit it in so it can work with all the other parts.
I know what you're driving at, Dad, but I don't think I ever will fit in, not here. I'm different from the guys in this town.
Well, as far as that goes, Phil, everybody's different. That's what makes people interesting.
Maybe.
You know, when we moved here this summer, I had quite a time making friends in a new office where everybody else knew each other.
What'd you do, Dad?
Well, that's beside the point, son. What works for one doesn't necessarily work for another.
But I bet the other men didn't look at your clothes all the time.
Well, what makes you think they look at your clothes?
Oh, because the other fellas wear sweaters or just shirts, not a regular suit like mine.
Well, wear a sweater then. But clothes alone won't... Phil, what about the other fellows? What do they do? What do they like?
Gosh, Dad, I don't know. I never noticed. Only I know it's not radios.
Perhaps that's the reason you don't know. You don't notice what the others are interested in. Why not try to find out?
How, Dad?
Well, you might try watching, listening. Pick out the most popular boys and girls in school and keep an eye on them.
Try to figure out why people like them. Not that you'll ever be just like any of them, but you might learn something. Well, see you at dinner.
Now, there's an idea. Maybe a good idea. Worth a try, anyway. And tomorrow's not too soon to start. Pick out the most popular boys and girls in school and keep an eye on them. Who are they now? Some of them are right here in this class. Andy McIntyre, for instance. People like him, all right. Chick Gallagher rates high in popularity, too. There's Jane Davenport. She's popular with boys and girls. And Jack Gilbert. What's he got that makes people like him so much? Andy's got something to say, and Jack's listening. He really seems interested. Come to think of it, Jack's always interested in what people are talking about. Maybe that's why he hits it off so well with everybody. Anyhow, Andy thinks he's a great guy. No, that's too easy. Just listening. Well, what's this? Sounds like Jane's caught on to the same thing. She's listening. Hearing about Helen's collection of menus and liking it. That makes her kingpin with Helen. Maybe there is something in this business of being a good listener. But still, there must be more to getting along with people than just wearing a sweater and listening.
What's the matter, Bob? Handle stuck?
Yeah, I can't get it open.
Oh, here, let me try. Trick to some of these.
There. Gee, thanks a lot, Chick. Now, why didn't you think of that? Chick's always doing things for people. And it pays off in friends.
Boy, that sure is one tough history assignment we have for Friday. Wish I could find some good outside reading material.
I found a swell book that covers everything Miss Carson wants us to know. It's called The Last Days of Monarchism by Henry Darrow. You can get it at the library.
I'm sure glad you told me about it. I'll get it this afternoon. Thanks a lot, Bob.
It's okay, Chick.
You dope. You knew about that book. You could have been the guy that helped a guy. Well, get going. Gotta stop by the drugstore. There it is again. Even when you bump into people, they hardly know you're alive. You're alone, Bud. Alone in the crowd. But keep looking around. Try to find out what the score is. Look at Jack and Beezy over there. Girls seem to like them. Why? What's the angle? They do act kind of polite. At least they seat the girls and give their orders to the waiter. They aren't loud like some of the guys.
Cherry Coke, chocolate Coke, milkshake, and wallet. Double chocolate wallet.
Right.
Okay, I got it. Whoa, gee.
Excuse me, please. I've got the orders for my table. Just helping out during rush hour, Bob.
Gee, thanks a lot, Chick. That's swelling.
Okay, Bob. Hey, girl.
There's Chick being helpful again.
I can't quite decide. I do it after quite right, Jane. I love the way it tastes.
Hey, don't tell me you two are still talking clothes. Was this a plot to squelch all males present? Phil, sit down. Make yourself at home.
Oh, Chick, how are you?
Pretty good. Come on, sit down.
Hello, everybody. Okay.
We men need some support to run down this girlish chatter. Hey, you want a malt, don't you? Yo, Bob. The topic under discussion is the mixer next Friday night at school. You're going, aren't you?
Oh,
I don't know, Chick. I haven't got a date yet.
Well, grab yourself a girl and come along. It's not going to be a real party. Just a class getting together for some fun.
I'd like to, Chick. Yeah, I sure would. Yeah, sure would be something to take Mary Lou to the mixer. Wonder if she already has a date.
Well, how's the oscillator coming along?
Hi, Dad. Oh, I haven't quite got it working yet. But, you know that other business we were talking about? Well, I've been following your advice.
How about it? Find out anything?
Yeah, Dad, I think I did. It looks like people who get along best with other people are, well, the people who think about the other guy. They make a point of listening to what others have to say and watching for ways to do things for them, being polite toward them. Do you suppose it's sort of a case of thinking so much about other people that you don't have much time to worry about yourself?
Well, perhaps that's right. Maybe the best way to find out is to try it the next chance you get.
You know, Dad, there's a mixer Friday night. I wasn't going to go, but in the drugstore the other day, Chick said I ought to come.
Good idea, Phil.
Well, Dad, there is a girl I'd like to take, if Mary Lou Wright. But I'm not sure she'd go with me. Never even talked to her. I'd probably fall all over myself. Besides, she's popular. She's probably got a date by now.
Well, it is pretty late to ask a girl. Why don't you just go stag? You needn't worry about doing anything wrong, Phil. You act all right. Just do and say whatever seems most natural.
Well, Dad, maybe it will be easier after I've had a chance to talk to her at the mixer. You know what? I kind of think this is going to fit in after all. Well, this is it. Sink or swim. Oh, there's Mary Lou. She did come with another guy. Beezy Barnes. What now? They're breaking up the piano gang. Look at Beezy, listening first to one boy, then another. It's funny the way people flock around a good listener. But what's this? They're talking about radios. It's right down your alley. They're asking Beezy about... And he's stuck. You know the answer to that one. You could tell him. But she just to butt in. Beezy's still stuck. He really needs help. Help? That's it.
An offer of help. That's welcome anywhere. It's not hard to fit yourself into a conversation. A mention of a similar problem in connection with the record player. They're interested in that record player. They are interested in that shy guy. They know he's alive now. And, strangely enough, he's just discovered that they're alive. Of course they'd like to see the record player. Of course they'll come over. Tomorrow afternoon.
So I just have to do a little more soldering and connect the oscillator into the amplifier, and everything will fit in.
Oh, Phil, could you have it ready by next week and bring it over to my house?
I guess so.
Some of the gang's coming over Thursday night, and we could have a lot of fun with it. You will come, won't you?
Well, one shy guy is on his way. Not that his worries are over. He'll still have his moments of doubt, of hesitation, of fear that he might do something wrong. But he can face these problems now because he knows that he's not really different. And while he's discovered only a few of many ways to overcome shyness, he's discovered that it can be done. And that's the main thing, isn't it?
Go quickly. Oh no! Here, watch this film.